Welcome to Slaying with Santos. If you're new here, hola, I'm Melissa Santos. Join me as we dive into the dark and twisted minds of criminals, revealing the stories that lurk just beyond the flicker of candlelight. Tonight's story isn't just disturbing, it's unholy. It's about a woman, a mother, who was once seen as loving, beautiful, a spiritual person. But behind her bleach blonde smile was a ticking time bomb. A woman who believed her children were zombies and that it was her sacred duty to destroy them. This is the story of Lori Vallow Daybell, also known as Mommy Doomsday. Lori grew up in a loving family with 3 siblings, and her mother said that she was a darling little girl. They had lots of fun, lots of family gatherings. From the outside, they just looked like this perfect family. And she was raised in the LDS church and reading the Book of Mormon. She married right out of high school, and that unfortunately didn't last. Then she married again and had her first son, Colby Ryan, at the age of 22. But the relationship with her second husband, William Lagolia, I don't think I'm pronouncing that right, but moving on, it was toxic and it ended in divorce. She loved being a mother, but not every part of Lori's motherhood journey was picture perfect, especially when it came to her marriage with Joseph Ryan, her third husband, the biological father of Tylee Ryan. Colby wasn't Joe's son, but during their marriage, Joseph became a stepfather to him, like the only real father in his life. In the beginning, everything was fine. Colby was happy to finally have someone who is present that he can call father, that felt like a safe, peaceful place for him. But that peace was short-lived. Joe became a monster. In interviews and in the Netflix documentary, Sins of Our Mother, Colby reveals that Joseph Ryan was abusive, physically and emotionally. He said that Joe would explode in rage, lash out at Lori, and take his anger out on Colby almost all the time. Like, there was a moment where he says in that interview that Joe would just hit him, Joseph, would hit him in the back of the head, like just for no reason, right? Just because he was pissed off. Colby also said that he was sexually abused by Joe when he was just a child, and it started around 8 years of age. Absolutely heartbreaking. And Lori, while she eventually divorced Joseph, fought for custody of Tylee. Although she did these things to save her children, something during that time shifted. So the marriage had clearly been toxic. It was fueled by custody battles, courtroom drama, and behind closed doors, a household was marked by control, by fear. When she left Joe, many thought she'd finally be free, finally. But instead of finding peace, Lori began to almost unravel mentally. She had been exhausted, and now she's angry and paranoid. She fought hard for full custody of Tylee, and she often told friends that she was afraid that Joe was going to hurt her during this time, and worse, maybe take Tylee away. She even accused him of being dangerous, and not just emotionally, but spiritually. She claimed that he was like dark, right? But we know this, like the guy was not a good person. But that's a term we're going to hear again during this story. This was a new Lori. A version shaped by trauma, bitterness, and a growing distrust of the world around her. She started pulling away from people who didn't agree with her. She started to cling tighter to her faith, which there's nothing wrong with, right? We find peace in our faiths. I'm a Christian, and I go to my faith all the time, but especially in times of need. But it was not comforting her the way it was supposed to. It made her obsessive, apocalyptic. She started becoming obsessed with the end of times. So after the chaos with Joseph Ryan, Lori needed stability. Enter Charles Vallow. They met around 2004 during Lori's sister's summer gathering. Charles was a businessman from Texas, recently divorced. He was raising 2 sons and not a member of the LDS church. But when he met Lori, something changed. He fell hard. Lori, guys, was very endearing. She had, you call it moxie. People just loved being around her. And Charles was just smitten by her. She's very beautiful. And so he was all in. He even converted to her faith, joining the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints to support her and win her heart, and it worked. And let me just tell you, those are green flags. We love this for her, okay? They married in 2006, and for a while, things looked normal, even happy. They lived in Arizona. They made a home in Hawaii. Beaches, luau's, sunshine, scripture. They look like the perfect blended family. Then came JJ, Joshua Jackson Vallow. He was Charles' biological grandnephew, born to his nephew. So his sister's son, who unfortunately couldn't care for him with the woman that he was with. We don't know why exactly, but we do know that Charles and Lori adopted him. JJ was just a baby. He had autism, and he was bright and loving and just full of life. People said he was just like such a joy. And when I was looking this up, I found videos of him that were just so cute. He was such a sweet little boy. I'm a mom. I'm a boy mom. So seeing his little face like just brought me so much joy. And he, unfortunately, moving forward, things don't end well for him. The trauma didn't just vanish for Lori, but she wasn't done changing. She was still going through something, guys, okay? There was like this, she's becoming someone that other people didn't recognize, okay? So behind closed doors, her spiritual beliefs were, like I said, evolving into something darker. She started diving into books about prophecy, ends of times, spiritual dimensions, and Charles, who once seemed like her rock, was suddenly not good enough. They weren't on the same path. He wasn't righteous enough, not the chosen one that she thought she married. She wouldn't see Charles as her husband anymore. She started seeing him as something else. Anyway, outside of that, Lori Vallow seemed like your typical suburban mom. Lori's close friend April said that Lori, unfortunately, was feeling detached from her husband because of those reasons I just mentioned. She didn't see him as her spiritual equal. April feels that at this time, Lori's beliefs started to become way more extreme. Lori was telling people that she had been in contact with the angel Moroni. So the angel Moroni is a figure central to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. He is described as an angel who appeared to Joseph Smith, revealing the existence of the Book of Mormon and guiding him through its translation. Moroni is also depicted as a statue on top of many Latter-day Saints temples. During this time, Colby got married. Her son, this was her first son, remember, sometime during the mid-2018, and Lori was not happy. She seemed deeply bothered that she was no longer like the main woman in Colby's life. Like, I'm a boy mom, and someone please stop me if I become this obsessive over my son, because it was not normal, okay? Although Lori was going through some trauma and changes, it's not normal to obsess over your son like that, and her thinking continued to shift. She started becoming, again, obsessed with the ends of time. She kept mentioning it, and she began to isolate herself from those who didn't share her growing beliefs. In October 2018, Lori met Chad Daybell at a religious conference called Preparing a People in St. George, Utah. Chad was a self-published author who wrote books about preparing for the apocalypse. He claimed he could see the future, and Lori seemed to be hooked. She seemed to begin to idolize him. They bonded instantly over beliefs, claiming they had been married in a previous life and were chosen to lead the 144,000 survivors of the coming end of times. So they were just like, I love you. We're the same. Yeah, crazy. They're just, yeah, I don't even know. Like, I know people have all their beliefs, and some people believe in, soulmates and things like that, but this was a little different. It was culty, and she was obsessed with him just instantly. And not after meeting Chad, Lori began surrounding herself with like a new circle of friends, people who echoed and amplified her beliefs. Among those people was Melanie Gibb, who would later testify in court. This wasn't just like a spiritual group. They were like militant. They spoke in coded terms about translated beings, light versus dark spirits, and how basically to prepare for the final battle, and like they were the chosen ones to go and fight that battle. Okay. Lori even began appearing on a podcast called Feel the Fire, where she talked about her visions and her supposed spiritual gifts. She claimed she had lived many past lives, like she was like this warrior, this chosen person, and that the end of the world was imminent. She also talked about that that she didn't sleep at night, like that she had like this ability to just stay awake all the time, and it was just like from this spirituality that she was feeling, and because she was this chosen person. She had like this power almost. And so I was thinking, maybe this is why she was so insane. I mean, you're not sleeping. When you're on like, you know, doing drugs, like you stay awake, right? Like I'm going off topic a little bit here, but if you do meth, for example, right? Going there, you're not sleeping. This woman was not sleeping. She was not okay. She was talking about stuff and nobody was really thinking too much of it for some reason, but her son found it incredibly unsettling, okay? In interviews and on the Netflix documentary, Sins of Our Mother, he said he couldn't recognize her anymore. Well, because she wasn't sleeping, right? And she was not okay. She sounded like someone else. This is not the mom that raised him. He didn't understand what was happening and who the other people around her were. Her mom said also, Lori's mom, that she just felt, her mom was delusional, okay? Her mom, unfortunately, I feel like knew that she, like Lori wasn't okay, but she made it okay in her mind. So she said that Lori was just being a nice girl, a sweet girl, and was bringing in these people who are kind of like not outcasts, like just kind of, you know, kind of special people, and she was helping them with the podcast. But this cult was clearly not okay, and it was pushing her agenda, this like end of time agenda where she had to be prepared. And so she kept becoming more delusional because of these people, and her mom didn't see that either. But Colby did. Her obsession with prophecy and preparing for the end of times was no longer a private spiritual journey. It was public. It was performative, and it was growing darker and darker by the day, and nobody was stopping it. Let me just say this. The beliefs that Lori and Chad had and were spreading, like ideas of translated beings, labeling people as like light and dark, and calling other people zombies, they're not part of the mainstream teachings of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. While the LDS Church has scriptural references to things like spiritual gifts and the 144,000, they do not teach that you can rank people's souls, okay? You don't call your kids possessed. They don't teach that you can justify killing in the name of prophecy. What Lori and Chad created was like a twisted fringe theology that served their own egos and ultimately their crimes. Soon, Lori started labeling people as light and dark. Light means righteous, dark means dangerous, you're possessed. According to Chad and Lori, dark spirits needed to be cast out, and in some cases, that meant death. That's when the term zombies entered the picture. They would call people zombies, like they were possessed, they're zombies, they're not really here. It's almost like someone is taking, like an evil spirit was taking over that person and they had to be eliminated. But let's talk about who exactly Chad Daybell is. Chad was born in Utah in 1968 and raised in a devout Latter-day Saint family. He went to attend Brigham Young University and earned a degree in journalism, but it wasn't long before Chad's path took a dark turn. He worked as a cemetery sexton. Yep, a grave digger. By the way, I didn't even know that's what a grave digger was called, sexton. I don't know why. I just thought that was kind of funny when I was doing my research. I'm like, okay, I have no idea why they called it that, but here we are. I felt like I was like an 8th grader giggling, but anyway, and claimed that he had a spiritual visions while working amongst the dead. Like these visions, he said, gave him like a glimpse into the spiritual world because he was grave digging, like he had a connection with the dead people, and then he turned those experiences into like fuel for his self-published books, dozens of apocalyptic novels that portrayed the end of the world through an LDS lens. He also claimed to have not one but 2 near-death experiences. One as a teen after a cliff diving accident, and another one in his 20s when he was like swept to the sea by a wave. Like I don't even know what he was doing in the ocean, but he's like, I'm dying and now I'm talking to angels apparently, right? So it's like opened up a spiritual veil for him and it gave him like permanent access to the other side. He said he could now see spirits, receive divine messages, and could even communicate with dead loved ones. And people were eating this up. Like people were following this man around like it was a cult. And he wasn't shy about it, okay? He built an entire cottage industry out of these beliefs, publishing books, speaking at conferences, mentoring others who claim to have like similar visions. Like, where do these people come from? where are these, like, how did Chad, like, he had people following him. Like, he was like kind of like a Charles Manson, if you will, right? Like having people like follow him and just almost praise him like he was a god. Okay, so to many, Chad was a humble visionary. To Lori, he was a prophet. Like it was almost like she was defensive of him. Like, it was so weird. And to both of them, these so-called visions became like a green light to eliminate anyone who stood in their way. At first, the cracks in Lori and Charles' marriage were subtle. So let's go back to Lori's marriage, because remember, she's still married, okay? And now she's becoming obsessed with Chad, right? She became distant, cold, more obsessed with spiritual books than, like, you know, her family have ever seen. She would bring him to family dinners. She stopped sleeping. She started like saying bizarre things about portals, dimensions, spiritual rankings. She claimed to have like these special powers. She could detect dark spirits hiding inside people. Listen, guys, it was nonstop. And everyone's like, okay, all right, that's just Lori being Lori. No one said anything. But Charles did. Charles was confused. He was like concerned. This is not the woman he married. He's terrified. Okay, one day Lori told her friend something chilling. She said that Charles was no longer Charles. She said that he had been taken over by a dark spirit, a demon named Ned Schneider. What? So anyway, that he's a zombie now. So Charles is now a zombie, and she's telling people this. And no one is like, red flags, go get this woman, put her in a padded room. She cannot be around other people because she's clearly dangerous. She said that Charles' soul had died. Okay, there was something evil inside of his body, and it is wearing him like a costume. Okay? She began telling people that he's dangerous, that he had to be dealt with, that it was part of her mission. So she's on a podcast saying this. She's telling the homies about this. And again, nobody is like, yo, go check on Lori. Lori's not okay. One of these people she told was Melanie Gibb, a close friend from church and a co-host on her podcast, Feel the Fire. I don't think that's really Charles, she says. I think he's been taken over and needs to be removed. Like, what does that even mean? Okay, so now Charles is scared. He was desperate. And just so you guys know, Charles, like, no one was believing Charles. She's saying these off-the-wall things, and everyone's like, no, Charles is the problem. We're talking about Charles, who was just like this perfect man, really. I mean, there isn't a perfect man, but if there was a perfect man, it was Charles. The way he took care of her, the way he took care of the family, he created a home, he took care of her financially, was a good dad, was a good person. Nobody believed Charles, but they believed Lori, who's like clearly talking madness. And anyway, in January 2019, he went to the police. He filed a report saying Lori was having a mental breakdown, that she believed he was a demon, that she was threatening to kill him, and that she vanished, taking JJ with her. He told officers, she's going off the deep end, she's not safe, I'm afraid for my life and for my kids. Police documented the report, but Lori resurfaced weeks later as if nothing happened. So there's a video of him, there's a police cam, and he's just like, she's not okay. She took my kids, and because, you know, legally she can do that, they just documented it, like I just stated, and they didn't see it as weird. But Lori had a way with people. Okay, Lori had a way with people. And anyway, so Lori resurfaced weeks later, right? She acted calm, smiling. She told officers that Charles was the one being dramatic. She even laughed during the interview. And that interview is something you guys can look it up. It's insane. Like, she's just like laughing with them. They're almost like flirting with her. It was like insane to see. They were smitten by her. I'm telling you, she had this like chokehold on people. She really did. It was eerie. And nothing about the accusations fazed her either. They would ask her questions. She's just like, it's okay. This is normal. This is my life. It's normal. Oh, Charles is just being Charles. So Charles is trying to hold things together for JJ, for Tylee, for the family, because she is disrupting their entire flow. Kids just thrive on structure. I have kids. I can't imagine just dragging my kids around like with just with no explanation. Okay, JJ is 6 years old at the time. Tylee is 16 at the time. And remember, like, JJ is autistic too, so he has special needs. He's probably all discombobulated, and she's just like, I'm fine. It's okay. The woman he married, that Charles married, she's gone. The mother was gone. She was replaced by someone else, someone who speaks in code, someone who believes in chosen missions and the destruction of zombies, okay? This sounds like we're talking about The Walking Dead, okay? It's not that. This woman has lost her mind. And by July 2019, things had reached a boiling point. Chandler, Arizona. Charles Vallow arrives at Lori's home to pick up JJ. They no longer live together, okay? He is calm but cautious. He has been trying to keep the peace despite the chaos that Lori has created. Inside the house was Lori, JJ, 16-year-old Tylee, and Lori's brother, Alex Cox. Now, Alex wasn't just Lori's big brother. He was like her protector, her enforcer, the guy she called when things got messy. They had a great relationship. He was like, I protect my sister, right? According to Lori and Alex's story, an argument broke out. Tylee allegedly came out holding a bat to defend her mom. Charles grabbed it, and then Alex intervened. And what's weird about this, because later they interview Tylee about this, and it almost seemed like she was lying to her mom. I had that feeling, but Lori's mom said that, you know, Tylee would never lie. She's a teenager. Like, teenagers don't lie. And yeah, it seemed weird. Like, she would actually lift a bat against Charles, especially since Charles was just like the guy who they respected and they really loved him, really cared about him. It doesn't seem like something Tylee would do, but anyway, she did say that this happened. So sometime after that, Alex shot Charles twice, apparently once also while he was on the ground, claiming self-defense. I mean, if someone's on the ground, why are we still shooting them? What made the whole thing even stranger was Lori's story. She told police she wasn't even in the room when the shooting happened. She claimed Charles and Alex got into a fight, but she had stepped out with JJ. Like, she had just picked up JJ from school. It was just weird. It didn't make any sense. And by the time she returned, Charles was dead. There's actually police cam footage of her like coming back. She said it so casually, so matter of fact, like she had just walked back into a messy kitchen and not a murder scene. But here's a problem. Her version of the events kept shifting. Like I said, it just wasn't making any sense. One moment she said that she was outside, and then she said that she was driving JJ to school. Then she said she couldn't recall what exactly happened. And she doesn't remember shots being fired. Like, were you there, were you not? It was weird because you have to remember Tylee said that she had come out during the altercation with the bat, but then she wasn't there. She didn't see the shooting. No one was there. None of it made sense. None of it. The police body cam footage caught some of that chilling day. Lori was smiling, laughing. She was joking with officers like she was at a brunch, not a crime. Meanwhile, Alex calmly tells the police that Charles came at him with the bat, that he had no choice, no one questioned why Lori never called 911, or why she took her son to school because she was supposed to be picking him up from school and she was supposedly running errands. It was such a mess. None of it made sense. Even researching it, I'm like, what the hell happened here? Like, what? What? And it just reeked of something darker. But at the time, authorities let it go. There was no arrest. There was no charge. Like a family tragedy. Like, what? So many people dropping the ball here, man, right from the beginning. And these police officers, like, they just didn't do their job. Nobody was doing their job. She was already making plans to disappear during all this, right? She told friends she needed to leave Arizona urgently. She kept getting more paranoid, guys, but it wasn't going to be forever, she claimed. It was just a little while. She just needs to get out. People are looking for her. She said, we're going somewhere cold, she said. But don't worry, I'll be back. This is her quoted phrase, okay? She didn't say where, though. She didn't say why. She was just cutting ties. She needed a little vacation. Lori packed up Tylee and JJ and drove off to Rexburg, Idaho, a quiet, snow-covered town with one chilling detail. That's where Chad Daybell lived. And guys, the only way they even found out that she was in Rexburg is because she used Charles' Amazon account to buy like a wedding engagement ring, like a male engagement ring. So that's how they found out, okay? So there were no family updates, though, up until then. No holiday phone calls, nothing. So just weeks after the children were last seen on October 19, 2019, Chad Daybell's wife, Tammy Daybell, dies suddenly in her sleep. You don't say. So Charles is dead. Now, Chad's wife has mysteriously passed away. She was just 49 years old. She was healthy. She was active. She was a school librarian. She had no history of illness, no signs of any trouble. But now she's gone. Chad told police she'd gone to bed coughing, right? She's like, I'm going to go to bed. And just like that, her death was ruled natural causes. Like, reading this and just researching this, I was so frustrated. It's like, how? How? Can someone tell me how? If you're a police officer or a detective, please let me know how. Email me, okay? You know where my Instagram is, and if you're watching this, you know my social handles. How does this happen? How does one just like not see the red flags? There were so many. So no autopsy. Like I would be like, give me an autopsy right now. Because this woman didn't just die in her sleep, okay? Give me a break. So there were no red flags and there was no investigation. And check this, just 17 days after Tammy's death, okay, Chad married Lori, okay? That was like actually 13 days after they buried her, okay? Okay, so they buried her quick too. He was like, oh, we ain't got time for an autopsy. So while 2 children were also missing, mind you, the kids are nowhere to be found, right? They're looking for the kids. Detectives are looking. The family is like freaking out. Everybody's freaking out. And these 2 are getting married, okay? Chad and Lori are on the beach in Hawaii, like dressed in white, exchanging vows, like nothing happened. Lori was smiling. They even had a photographer, y'all, like, look at me, I'm so in love. Like, this is like her 100th marriage, okay? She's acting like she's brand new. As police continued to search for JJ and Tylee, the people closest to Lori were already uncovering some disturbing things. So during this time, her oldest son, Colby, and his wife were trying to piece together what happened, okay? By the way, Colby's wife was on like this holy hit list, okay? It was insane. They were trying to understand like how Lori became this crazy lunatic, right? She became something unrecognizable. And that's when they found it. An email written by Chad Daybell sent to Lori. It wasn't romantic. It wasn't spiritual. You guys, it was a ranking system. So it was like a spreadsheet, like we were doing a little bit of math. Okay, I suck at math, but that's what it looked like to me. I'm gonna tell you, I didn't suck at reading it though. That's where Chad basically categorized people's names and assigned them by spiritual rankings from like light to dark. And there was like levels. Like you could be like really, really dark, like really evil, or like just like kind of slightly evil, like just a little bit evil, like somewhere in the middle. Okay? And so he claimed he could identify who was possessed, who was still in body and like their own body, and who had become a zombie. Like once you're a zombie, it's time to like kill you, right? Like I just imagined like, again, like Walking Dead. Like, okay, that's it. You're not coming back from being a zombie, right? That doesn't happen. It included Lori's family too, her friends and her children, Tylee, Ryan, and JJ Vallow. So everybody was like, what the heck is going on? Okay, now everybody's sick. Colby actually said, like, I'm sick to my stomach. He's not okay, right? Everyone's like, this is a kill list. And they can't find the kids. So they were justifying who deserved to live and who didn't. So when they got married in Hawaii, authorities found them and they couldn't pin anything on them just yet. Like they're you would think they'd be able to pin something, but they can't. But the children were still missing. And so you have reporters actually asking them like, hey, where are the kids? Where are the kids? Where are the kids? The husband, like they're asking Chad questions. And there's this one video. It's almost like, like TMZ chasing like celebrities. It was really weird. It very much looked like that. And Lori's like almost defending Chad. Like he's like her son, her baby. It was really freaking weird. Because you have to remember, she thinks this man is like God. Like he's a prophet. Like she basically thinks she's like with Jesus. Like this is Jesus, okay? And I have to protect him, okay? So 2 beautiful children are missing. Their mother, silent, except for when she's defending Chad. Her new husband, dodging questions. He doesn't even have to talk. She's like talking for him. Authorities are demanding answers, but Lori and Chad stayed in Hawaii. They were refusing to cooperate, smiling at the beach while the nation searched for their children, who no one had seen in months. But investigators now are like, F this. we're not gonna stop until we find these children. They got a search warrant for Chad Daybell's property. It was a quiet plot of land in Salem, Idaho, lined with like trees. It was really serene. It was actually really pretty. But what led investigators to obtain a search warrant for his property was absolutely chilling. It was a text message. So it read, "Well, I had an interesting morning. I felt I should burn all of the limb debris from the fire pit before I got too soaked by the coming storms. While I did, I spotted a big raccoon along the fence. I hurried and got my gun, and he was still walking along. I got close enough that one shot did the trick. He is now in our pet cemetery. Fun times! Exclamation point." And at first glance, super harmless. It's kind of boring. He's kind of boring, okay? He's not even funny, okay? But, this is the relationship they had. Detectives said in their testimony that there was no raccoon, no storm, and no limb debris. So on June 9th, 2020, they found what everyone feared because detectives went in to dig. They were like, nah, dude, you're shady. They found a shallow grave. Beneath it, human remains. Unfortunately, first they found JJ wrapped in plastic, duct tape around his tiny arms and mouth, and he had been buried near a tree placed with care, almost like they kind of cared about him. That part really got to me. I have 2 children, and one of my kids is JJ's age, and I was like, how do you do this? Like, how do people become this level of monster that you could just kill? And JJ was such a sweet boy, and they fear that the reason why maybe that's what instigated the killing, well, it's not JJ's fault, but JJ was autistic and he tended to repeat things over and over again. So they believe that he probably heard something and he kept repeating it over and over again. And now they're like, oh, he's the devil, right? And they killed him, and then maybe Tylee saw that, and then they killed her after. Because Tylee's remains were actually different. She had been dismembered. She had been burned and scattered near a pet cemetery. So they found her in pieces. And as a mom, I'm just like, it was really difficult to see the scene. I didn't see the actual like grave or anything, but you have these overhead shots of it, and it's just crazy to think that these children have been there and everyone was just like living their lives like nothing, right? So this wasn't just murder. One officer said it was destruction. It was cold. It was just heartless. And suddenly there was no hiding anymore. Chad and Lori. Chad Daybell was arrested on the spot. He was trying to escape, guys. He's like, oh, fuck this. I gotta go. He was like, and they caught him like just taking off in his truck. Because he was watching from inside of his home. And so when he was trying to leave, they grabbed him. And Lori, at this point, was actually already behind bars in Hawaii. They were able to just get her on something, and they were keeping her. But they were actually going to let her go because they didn't have any proof yet. This is why they needed the bodies, unfortunately. But now they had enough proof. And the truth had a voice, and it was speaking loud. The charges continued to roll in. Conspiracy to commit murder, destruction of evidence, concealment of remains. Lori and Chad went from prophets to prisoners. And here's the part that keeps me like up at night. Like as I was researching this, like how did no one stop them? So many chances, so many red flags, so many moments where someone could have said, yo, these people are not okay. Like this is not right. Lori told people her husband was a demon. Ignored. She vanished with her kids for weeks before she finally vanished with them, right? No one said anything. Charles Vallow begged police for help, that she was dangerous. She lied to the schools, family, even cops that were laughing with her. And Chad, he was writing emails about light and dark spirits, and nobody was doing anything. He was ranking people like he was building a spiritual hit list. Remember, guys, like we knew this way before this even happened. It could have saved these children. His wife dies suddenly. He gets married after. Come on, guys. Where were the interventions, the arrests, the therapists, the church leaders that, claim to support its people, the neighbors? How did it keep going? until two children were in the ground. The system completely failed them. Lori was wearing a mask of this beautiful motherhood, a good Mormon woman, a podcasting prophet, and people believed her until it was too late. July 31st, 2023, the courtroom was packed. The victims' families, the survivors, reporters. Lori Vallow Daybell, smirking, unmoved. She had this audacity on her face all the time. It was just gross to see. Seeing her in the court is infuriating. After years of lies, months of testimony, and unimaginable heartbreak, it was time for the world to hear her sentence. Lori had already been found guilty of murdering her children, conspiring to kill Tammy Daybell, and destroying and concealing evidence. And now, Judge Stephen Boyce made it official. He sentenced Lori Vallow Daybell to life in prison without possibility of parole. No mercy, no freedom, no escape. In court, Lori gave a bizarre, cold statement. She claimed that her children visited her from heaven, that they were happy, and that she was still a servant to God. Not once does she say sorry, not once. And Chad Daybell, he was formally sentenced to death after that on June 1st, 2024, by an Idaho jury after being convicted for the triple murder of his first wife, Tammy Daybell, his then girlfriend, Lori's, Vallow's two children, Tylee, Ryan, and JJ Vallow. And in the end, both Lori and Chad were convicted. But their punishments, very different, because Chad was seen as the mastermind, the author, the prophet, the puppet master. So a lot of people go, why didn't Lori get the death sentence? Well, she wasn't actually the one pulling the trigger. And she kind of claimed insanity too. She's been in institutions as well. So she is crazy. So she's never getting out. So that's what's important. When it was time to plead for his life, he didn't. He offered no remorse, no explanation. He just stood there blank. So he was getting life in prison, and he's like, whatever. Chad Daybell will die for what he did. And you know what? In my opinion, they can both go. I'm just gonna say. Like I said, everybody else was saying that Lori should go. I think she should go too, but I'm not in charge of that decision. Lori played innocent in court, like she didn't know what was going on. Okay? You were just as deep in it, just as twisted, just as dangerous. There's no sympathy here. There's no redemption. They took the innocent lives of two babies. Bye. Girl, bye. Bye. I don't care. Now, look, some of you might be asking, wait, what about her other mess? Okay, the husband that she killed, the niece's ex, which, by the way, guys, so during this time, and I didn't think it was that important for the story because there was just so much more important details I wanted to throw in, but Chad tried to kill Lori's niece's ex-husband because he was on the list. Like, they were in the middle of a divorce, and she's like, I'm just gonna help my niece by killing her husband or ex-husband that she was in the middle of divorcing. So, but it was a failed attempt. It was they shot at him while he was in a truck in front of his house, and then they missed. So, at the end of the day, I wanted to focus on JJ and Tylee because this was their story and they deserve to be front and center. That being said, don't get it twisted, okay? Lori is still out there catching charges like it's a hobby, guys, because in 2025, she has been found guilty in Arizona for plotting to kill Charles Vallow. I think it's really important to know that she was the reason why he was killed in the first place, okay? That was her fourth husband, remember. She needed to stand trial for that as well. And get this, she's representing herself in court now. She thinks she's like Elle Woods, dude, but like with a body count. So she's already gotten kicked out of the courtroom for popping off at the judge. And come July 25th, she's looking at 2 more life sentences stacked one on top of each other. And she's already serving in Idaho, so she'll go and be there forever. So if you thought this woman was done, baby, the circus is still in town. She's not gonna stop. She is beyond delusional. She's never getting out of prison, though. She's done. Okay, that was the story of Lori Vallow. If you're enjoying this episode, please share it with someone who needs to hear it, because evil doesn't always come with horns. Sometimes it shows up with a smile and a scripture quote. If you are enjoying this episode, please share it with someone who needs to hear it, because evil doesn't always come with horns. Sometimes it shows up with a smile and a scripture quote. Leave a review and don't forget to subscribe. New episodes drop every week. And until next time, stay alert, stay informed, and stay safe.